I want to tell few words about Mataji. Mataji is actively participating in many of temple services in the background, such as fundraising and planning for the temple development and so on. Mataji is supporting many other temple activities along with Rahul Prabhu. Mataji is pillar of our congregation. Also, she is known for melodious kirtans, and Mataji classes are very simple and understandable way to implement. With that, we will welcome Swarna Manjari Mataji with loudly chanting one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna devotees. As always, we will start with Jai Radha Madhava and then go into the lecture. So I know you're all on mute, but still chant along with me. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Yashodanandana, Jaya Brajajana Ranjana, Jayo Yashodanandana, Jayo Brajajana Ranjana, Jayo Yamuna Tiravanachari, Jayo Kunja Bihari, Jayo Yamuna Tiravanachari, Jayo Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. I'm going to share screen. 1 second. So we will invoke His auspiciousness by chanting our pranam mantras. Please join me in doing so. Om Jnanaatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तु ते। तप्त काञ्चन गौरङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी, वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च, पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री चैतन्य प्रभु श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा, श्री अद्वैता गदाधारा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। So today's verse is from chapter 9. I know in the shloka recitation, the children and some grown-ups all recited the first verse of chapter 9. So it actually sets a real good stage for the verse that we are going to read and learn about. So we are going to start with chapter 9. It is verse 27. Before we start recitation of the verse, let's chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So chapter 9 is the most confidential knowledge. And in the shloka recitation, the children read that Sri Krishna starts this chapter with telling Arjuna that he's imparting this knowledge to Arjuna because Arjuna is not envious. This is, we'll cover a little summary on the chapter also, but we'll start with the verse 27. Yat karoshi yadashnashi yajjuhoshi dadashi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Yat karoshi, whatever you do. Yad ashnashi, whatever you eat. Yad juhoshi, whatever you offer. Dadashi, you give away. Yat tapasyasi, whatever austerities you perform. Kaunteya, O son of Kunti. Tat kurushva, that do. Mat, unto me. Arpanam, as an offering. Yat karoshi yad ashnashi yad juhoshi dadashi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering to me. Before we go into the purport, can I get 2 volunteers who would like to recite this verse and also read the translation?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Can Dhruti do Mataji?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yat karosi yadasnasi yat jahosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurusva madarpanam. O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering unto me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dhruti. Do we have one more volunteer?
Akhilesh was planning to. Akhilesh? Okay. Let me do that. Yat karosi yat tasnasi yat juhosi tadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering to me.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So we'll go on to the purport. And, again, these are excerpts from the purport. So as I've always said in all my classes, when you read a verse and translation, you understand some piece of it. But when you read the purport, you understand everything Srila Prabhupada has squeezed as nectar into the purport. So please do so. Thus, it is the duty of everyone to mold his life in such a way that he will not forget Krishna in any circumstance. Everyone has to work for maintenance of his body and soul together, and Krishna recommends herein that one should work for him. Everyone has to eat something to live. Therefore, he should accept the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna. Any civilized man has to perform some religious, ritualistic ceremonies. Therefore, Krishna recommends, do it for me. And this is called Arjuna. Everyone has a tendency to do something in charity. Krishna says, give it to me. And this means that all surplus money accumulated should be utilized in furthering Krishna conscious movement. Nowadays, people are very much inclined to the meditational process, which is not practical in this age. But if anyone practices meditating on Krishna 24 hours a day by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, on his beads, he is surely the greatest meditator and the greatest yogi, as substantiated by the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So as we've read the translation and excerpts from the purport, we know that, yes, Krishna is saying, how are you going to? So we often have this question that, I'm doing everything that I can, but I'm not feeling that effect. And I, for one, can say it takes years. For some people, it takes years. For some people, it takes decades. And for some people, it takes no time. So why is that the case? It is the quality with which we meditate. So, and most recently, I have found somebody in my life who I had associated very briefly at the LA temple, and suddenly we connected, and she has spent 40 years of her life in just perfecting the meditation. I know in our temple Japa group also, Radha Damodar Prabhu and several other devotees get together every morning, and I'm guilty of not doing it for many weeks now. But that quality that you do in the Brahma Muhurta hours and the focus with which we meditate on for 24 hours, all the other things that are stated in this purport as to offering, do it for me, everything, keep Krishna in the center, it automatically springs from there. And the reason it automatically springs is because anything else in the material world, you cannot recite. Think of a song that you liked when you were a child, or think of a song that you like today. You move on from that song and you like a new song tomorrow. There is nobody and there is nothing that you can satisfactorily and fulfillingly recite continuously. Nothing. But the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is one that the more you do it, the more you have the energy, the desire, and the fulfillment of doing it. So if there's anything that we can do for meditation, I know there are various forms of meditation, there are various forms of yoga, and there's a lot of modern aspects of it. I, for one, am not critiquing any of that, but I've learned one thing from my parents. And this is real yoga. Meditating on the name of the Lord is real yoga. It doesn't mean if you enjoy doing it for exercise, you should not do it. But my mother and my father have never done any form of, real physical exercise in their life. They've been very active. They walk, they've been very active, but the one anchor they've had in their life is do everything for Krishna. And somehow Krishna has always sent somebody, or in his, not visible form, through someone, he has always been there to protect them and take care of them. So I'm naturally a little more inclined to follow what I've seen. And Srila Prabhupada used to go for morning walks, absolutely. But he used to chant with his disciples, or he would, preach to his disciples even in his morning walk. So every activity, you want to exercise, do it. You want to go for walks, do it. But try, even at that time, to meditate on Krishna in every stage, every part of the day. You sneeze, say Hare Krishna, don't say excuse me. Because every moment that we remember Krishna, Krishna reciprocates. So the purport of this is really, the explanation behind all this is, whatever you do, whether it is for sustenance of this body, whether it is for austerities, whether it is for charity, even when even there are days that I've remembered Krishna, and sometimes I feel I always bother Krishna, but that is my way of remembering him. We were at the airport a few weeks ago, and the flight was getting delayed little by little by little. And I said, oh, Krishna, please, I want to get home. Krishna, please help me. Krishna, please help me. And suddenly they moved not that because I prayed, but to my satisfaction, it worked. Because suddenly they said the flight was going to be 2 hours late, and then it was 1 hour late. Any day I would take that. So when I was a child, I would tell my parents, why do you keep bothering Krishna for all these little mundane things? You should not trouble Krishna. He has bigger things to do. And my mother would say, but who else can I go to when I, feel the need? He's always there. And we're not setting any conditions that Krishna, you have to do this for us. But by continuously remembering Krishna in good times, in difficult times, in not so good times, in the best of times, what we are doing is we are building a practice. It is this practice of meditating and constantly thinking of Krishna that will ultimately make us remember Krishna at that time when, you remember what you've remembered all your life. People who are very attached to their children will remember their children at the time of when it is time to leave this body. People who are very attached to their wealth will be thinking about what's going to happen to my wealth. People attached to the animals are going to think of their animals. You cannot get to an examination without practice and preparation. So if anybody can challenge this, we would love to learn more from them, but there is no student who can get to an examination without preparation or practice and master the results of that examination. Nobody, whether it is material world or anywhere. And likewise, we are all so fortunate. We see 7 billion people on this planet and we think it is no big deal. Sure, you see people all around and you think, how can human life be rare when I see people all around? But it is, because there is so many other species, and we get this human life after, so much austerity and going through so many 8,400,000 species. After that, we get this human body. And yes, Krishna can be merciful and he can relieve any form of life, okay, and take back any form of life. But the prescribed method of going back to Krishna and to understanding and rebuilding our relationship with Krishna is in the form of human life. So many of us adults have lived more than half our lives. And many of the children here, I know, you have children have a very difficult time in, when it comes to, there's a lot of pressure when it comes to education and when it comes to fulfilling, your assignments and projects. And no doubt it is not easy. So I know it is not easy, but I would still urge everybody, even if you take out 5 minutes sincerely for Krishna, over the course of 1 year, can you imagine how many minutes you would have given? And over the course of the next 5 years of high school, how many minutes you would have given? It's better than doing nothing. So whenever we think that we are too busy, it is true. Yes, our lives are busy. I'm not disagreeing with that. But Krishna is not asking us to start off with, doing 24 hours of japa. Start little, start small, make progress. Because if we do not make progress, then the end of this life will come, and then we don't know if we will have a human birth again. And Krishna, in the next verse, in the verse 28, Krishna assures us. Krishna says, Shubha Shubha Phalair Evam Mokshase Karma Bandhane Sannyasa Yoga Yuktatma Vimukto Mamupaisyasi. In this way, so he's given the method, and he says, in this way, you will be freed from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. With your mind fixed on me in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me. So whatever actions we do, good actions, we accumulate punya. Bad actions, we accumulate papa. However, if we keep Krishna as the focus of all our actions, and it doesn't mean that I'll do all the wrong things and pass it on to Krishna, but whatever we do, we don't want to accumulate too much punya also, because we will come back then to reap the reaction of that punya. We want to get to a point where we are able to transcend this cycle of karma, karmic action. And the only way to transcend, which means going beyond, is by offering everything to Krishna. And when you start offering everything to Krishna, you will realize that you automatically withhold from doing the wrong action, because you cannot do the wrong action and offer it to Krishna. So it will come naturally. Chapter 9 is a very, very beautiful chapter. And I've been reading it for 3 months now. And I know it can be daunting to read one chapter for so long, but it's just that the more you read and the more you read those purports, the more it becomes clear. Naturally, our intelligence is very limited. Okay, we don't even understand. Many of us don't even understand anything beyond our area of work or our area of expertise. What to talk of, first and foremost, all the knowledge that exists on the material platform, and then the knowledge of the spiritual platform. So we have very, very limited intelligence. And what we can do is Krishna is not expecting us to have all the, scriptures fully absorbed. Yes, we have to make an attempt, but it doesn't mean that we're going to get there. But the effort, and I always tell my kids, your grade is less important than your effort. If you have put full effort, that is what I look for. And the outcome is, some days you may have a hard examination, and some days you may have a better focus in your examination. So that is all irrelevant, but did you put in the right effort? So if we as parents feel that way for our children, Krishna feels the same for us. Do we really think that if this is the first lifetime that we are, coming to Krishna consciousness, and we have such a long journey to cover, we will be able to cover it in this lifetime? Theoretically, maybe not. But with Krishna's mercy, anything can happen. We know there are so many stories in Bhagavatam where it is very clear how Krishna, he's He's our eternal Father. He's waiting for us. Think of your children who forget you and don't want to come back home. But as a parent, you're always waiting for them to come home. Like that, Krishna is waiting for us. He wants us back. This is not something he has done to punish us. This is something we have chosen as, his children, to choose this way of life. And he's now waiting for us to have that desire to develop that connection back with him and come back to him. So every effort we do is, goes towards this. So effort and consistency is the most important thing in Krishna consciousness. And of course, the purity with which you do things, I forgot that. The quality, that's why they say, whether you chant 1 round or whether you chant 16 rounds, it is the quality that counts. So in this chapter, as we saw in the beginning, Krishna says to Arjuna, and we read this verse a short while ago, "My dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you the most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved from the miseries of material existence." Okay. So the only person who can understand, and of course, we are so blessed that we are getting to read what Krishna directly spoke to Arjuna, and we're getting to study that. But the only way we can understand this is if we are not envious of Krishna. Now, many of us may say, why would I be envious of Krishna? I think there's a difference between us thinking that you're envious of somebody, who you're competing with. For our realization, we are envious if we think we are the doer. We are envious if we think this is my effort. Many, many years ago, I have a friend, she's still my friend, who had said to me that it was about her brother-in-law. And she said, we are so proud of him. He's such a self-made man. And, he has accomplished so much success with all this hard work. And I'm sitting and listening to that. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing how we all tend to think that this is my doing, and I am so proud of this family member, or I'm so proud of myself, whatever it is. This was 20 years ago. Even then, when I heard all that, I didn't like it. Now, 20 years ago, obviously, my realization was very different from where, over the last 20 years, the journey that, I have been on. But even when I was not heavily into Krishna consciousness and reading the scriptures, I didn't like the way she said it. And I'm sure all of you come across people, social media is nothing but a brag book where everybody just says, oh, look at my son, or look at my daughter, or here is my husband. And they're always bragging about how good they are. But who are we? There is scientific proof that there are so many galaxies, which by human calculation, we cannot even fathom. So how are we, in all those galaxies, God knows how many living entities live. We only are on one planet of 7 billion people. We probably know 150 people in our lives. And we take pride in who we are. Who are we? Whatever we have as skills is not ours. It's been gifted to us by Krishna. So we are borrowing this from Krishna. So who are we to think that I am, I'm so good, or my kid is so good, or my husband is so good, or my mother is so good? No. This is all given to us by Krishna. So we are very, very insignificant. So that is where I think the envy part comes, because when we think of ourselves as stronger, it's because we have envy. We have inherent envy from people around us, what to talk of Krishna. In the second verse, Krishna says, Rajavidya Rajaguyam Pavitram Midam Uttamam pratyakshaavagamam dharmayam susukham kartum avyayam. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. So this knowledge that Krishna is giving us is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. When we are in the temple doing kirtan, doing bhajan, I only see happy faces. But when we come back home, we may not have the same, we may be stuck in, material hurdles, which is, whether it is house related, I need to fill my groceries, I need to cook, I need to do laundry. We don't feel so happy about it. Nobody feels happy. So, susukham, this is very easy to perform, and it is fulfillment of the soul. It is food for the soul, which is why we get happy. And you read everywhere, people say, oh, money cannot make you happy, this cannot make you happy. And then everybody comes to the question, what is happiness? Happiness is when the soul is happy. And the soul is happy when we purify the soul, because the Hare Krishna Mahamantra springs directly from the spiritual platform. It is not material. The soul is spirit. So when the spirit connects with the spirit, that is when anything spiritual, that is when it becomes happy. Further into this chapter, Krishna says that, why? So this chapter is called the King of Education. Why? Because it is the essence of all doctrines and philosophies explained before. The Lord says that this 9th chapter is the king of all such knowledge, the essence of all knowledge that can be derived from the study of the Vedas and different kinds of philosophies. So this is the culmination here. This knowledge is the purest form of all activities as explained in the Vedic literature. Srila Prabhupada, in one of his lectures, and this is again directly from Srila Prabhupada's lecture, he says, the karmis are working, but Krishna says, all right, you do, yat karoshi, whatever you're doing, just do it for me and give the result to me. That is Krishna consciousness. You can work. You have a big factory working, but give the result to Krishna. Then your that factory running is also as good as we are running this temple, because ultimately the profit is going to Krishna. Why are we working for this temple? Why are we working for this temple, employing our energy? It's for Krishna. So any field of activities, if you utilize it for Krishna, that is wanted. In that way, you can do. And this is direct from Srila Prabhupada's lecture. So I'm, just reading this little by little, but when you listen to it, it's you grasp it better. Otherwise, you will be entangled. Like I said, even if you do a lot of good karma, you get entangled into the punya, because once you do accumulate so much punya, you come back to, take the result of that punya, and you will be responsible. Because when you work intentionally or unintentionally, we are committing so many sinful activities. So we talked about punya, but let's talk about sinful activities. Take, for example, that we are not in favor of animal killing, but when we walk on the street, unintentionally, we are killing so many animals. You cannot get out of this entanglement. Okay. When you are drinking water, you're killing so many animals. There's bacteria, right? When you're inhaling, exhaling, we kill so many. When we are igniting fire, so many animals are killed. So we cannot avoid sinful activities. Unknowingly, we are doing so many sinful activities. So if you do not devote your life for Krishna's service, you'll be responsible for all these minor killings also, intentionally or unintentionally. Ignorance is not excused. We know that, right? Even in the material world, ignorance of law is not an excuse. You can't say, hey, I didn't know if I was going to do this, I was going to have this reaction. No, you're not forgiven for it. Likewise, as they say, the material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So, some of the things are going to be the same. The only thing is we do it in a more rash way. We are not conscious of our connection to Lord Krishna, which is what makes it harder and harder to get out of this material world. Some days I think the population on earth is increasing. And they say that 2/3 of the population actually is in the spiritual world. So we are in the minority that we have chosen to come to the material world. So keep in mind, there's a large majority that is in the spiritual planets. And I always wonder that the population of Earth is increasing. So what does this mean? That means we are staying here longer, right? We're coming back over and over again, in addition to more people coming down. But we know now, we know that there is a way. We know that students, there's a way. You won't have to repeat your hard years of school again in the next lifetime. You know that. For those of us working, we know we can escape these 12, 14-hour days of work. How? Only by one method. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has made it easiest in Kali Yuga for us to return back to Krishna. Further, so I also thought of chapter 7 as I was looking at this. In 728, it is said that a person who has completely ended the reactions of all sinful activities and who is fully engaged in pious activities, being freed from the duality of the material world, becomes engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, those who are actually engaged in devotional service of the Supreme are already freed from all reactions. So the verse says, Yesham tvanta gatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvanda moha nirmukta bhajante mam drida vrata. Again, highlighting only one part of this verse. Bhajante mam drida vrata. Bhajante means chanting. Chant me, chant my names with determination. Okay. So almost everything that I read, to me at least, it comes back to one thing. Chant with quality, chant with attention, and do it with determination and sincerity. Now, there are some other parts also here from the purport, and I'm going to go through that. And I know we're about 20-25 minutes away from my time, so I'm going to go through this a little quickly. Summary from the most confidential knowledge chapter. For those who are engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Lord, all sinful reactions, whether fructified, in stock, or in the form of seed, gradually vanish. This is a huge bonus for us. So we are all carrying sinful actions from years, and we have to undergo the reactions for that. But it says, if you're engaged in devotional service, it doesn't matter in what state, because all our actions are in different states. Some are fructified, so we get the result. Some are in stock, so we will get the result soon. And some are in the form of a seed, so we will get the result much later. So we have action sitting in 3 buckets. But Krishna is saying that all sinful, if you are engaged in devotional service, all sinful reactions, fructified, in stock, or in the form of seed, in any stage, they will gradually vanish. I think this is, if this can't be motivation for us to serve Krishna, then nothing can be motivation. This is like, icing on the cake. Therefore, the purifying potency of devotional service is very strong. Why do we feel that immense happiness when we are in Kirtan? It is so strong. Just being in front of deities who we've been serving itself is so potent. It is called Pavitram Uttamam. Pavitram means pure. Uttam means transcendental. Tamas means this material world or darkness, and Uttam means which is transcendental to material activities. Devotees' activities are never considered to be material. Even though you're cooking for Krishna. Although sometimes it appears that devotees are engaged just like ordinary people. When I'm sitting in my office meetings on Zoom, yes, I have a different background. Yes, I don't have tilak, but I start my day, during my day, and the end of my day, before I sleep, I'm constantly praying to Krishna that Krishna, let me stay focused. Let me do my job well also, but let me stay focused on you, not at the expense of getting myself away from you. One who can see and is familiar with devotional service will know that they are not material activities. They are spiritual and devotional, uncontaminated by the modes of nature. It is said that execution of devotional service is so perfect that one can perceive the results directly. I have seen this many times in my life, that when you pray to Krishna with purity of heart, and there have been many, or like, anybody else, I've had my share of material challenges, but pray to Krishna with sincerity, not to necessarily ask for something, but we all know that if you have an ailing body, it becomes harder. We all know that if you're surrounded with other miseries, it becomes harder. So the purpose of praying is for us so that we're spending less time on these activities and we can spend more time for Krishna. The direct result is actually perceived, and we have practical experience that any person who is chanting the holy names of Krishna in the course of chanting without offenses feels transcendental pleasure and very quickly becomes purified of all material contamination. We've seen these with our Guru Maharaj. We've seen this. I mean, I haven't seen Srila Prabhupada, but of course, everything that we have seen in his autobiography and his biography, we know how pure, how he was free from material contamination. Furthermore, if one engages not only in hearing, but trying to broadcast the message of devotional activities as well, or if he engages himself in helping missionary activities of Krishna consciousness, he gradually feels progress. This advancement in spiritual life does not depend on any previous education or qualification. This method is so pure that by simply engaging in it, one becomes pure. Last week, Jishnu and Riti baked cookies and brought it to the temple, sold those cookies and made those donations to the temple. Look, this is proof. We don't need any previous qualification. You can use whatever skill you have. If whatever skill you possess, you can use that in the service of Krishna. In 1868, and this is a very famous verse, Krishna says, "For one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me." So we're not in a rush that, I need to be on this express train and get to Krishna. No. We want to be sure that we have purified ourselves. And then we know, Krishna says, you will surely come back to me. So our job is not to worry about when we'll go back to Krishna. Our job is to worry about how we utilize our life in the service of Krishna. Our job is to worry about how everything we do, we offer it to Krishna. Our job is to broadcast the message of Krishna consciousness. That is our duty. Everything else will be taken care of. So in the Vedanta Sutra, it is also described in the following words. Prakashascha karmani abhyasat. Devotional service is so potent that by simply engaging in activities of devotional service, one becomes enlightened without a doubt. So even if you're feeling that, I don't think I'm making progress. We all question ourselves at different times of life. It's okay. But don't stop doing what you're doing. Even if you feel you're chanting inattentively, don't stop chanting. Chant and try to chant with attention. So a practical example of this is seen in Narad Muni's life, where he was in his previous life. He was the son of a maidservant. He had no education, nor was he born in a Brahmana family. But when his mother was engaged in serving great devotees, Narad also became engaged. And sometimes in the absence of his mother, he would serve the devotees himself. Okay. So Narad actually described his previous life to Vyasadeva. He says that by doing so, by engaging in the service of the great sages, sometimes those sages would leave remnants of food, and he asked for their permission to eat those remnants. And gradually he became free from all sinful reactions. As he went on eating, he gradually became as pure-hearted as the sages. The great devotees relished the taste of unceasing devotional service to the Lord by hearing and chanting. And Narada gradually developed this taste. So even if you don't have the taste today, it's okay. Do it. Keep doing it. Whether it is for this lifetime or whether it is for multiple lifetimes, keep doing it, because it takes a long time to develop that taste. We are so conditioned that it is rare for somebody to have the natural taste. But I'll also tell you, we are so blessed, all of us who are somehow connected with the Krishna consciousness movement. We are so blessed that it is such a small portion of this whole planet that is blessed to be associated with devotees. So yes, we have a journey, but yes, we are very blessed. So let's look at the positive and say that it doesn't matter how long this journey takes. We are not going to detour from this journey. We are going to stay on this journey. And one day, when the time is right, when we are purified, Krishna will bless us and take us back. So I also said that this process is very simple. It's a very simple and happy process. And this you will read in the first 2 verses of this chapter. You will read about this in the purports. Okay. So why do we say it is a very happy one? So devotional service consists of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So one can simply hear the chanting of the glories of the Lord and attend lectures on transcendental knowledge given by authorized acharyas. We live in a very lovely age of technology. You can go back and listen to all of Srila Prabhupada's lectures. You can listen to anybody's lectures. So we actually have access to Krishna consciousness with a lot more ease than people had 30 years ago. Simply by sitting, one can learn. Then one can eat remnants of the food offered to God, nice palatable dishes. We know prasadam is very tasty. Some of us come to the temple just for prasadam, and that is okay, because that is also a way of purification. I started actually my journey only for prasadam, I'll be very honest. When we used to go to the Singapore temple, Shreya was less than a year old, and we had no support system. So both Rahul and I were working, and Monday to Friday working like donkeys and cooking and doing everything ourselves. We didn't have enough money to even eat outside at that time. Maybe it was a good thing now that I think about it. So I had to cook every meal, and cooking for the baby, cooking for myself. So when we started going on Sunday to the Singapore temple, the food was delicious, absolutely mouth-watering food, and they had so many dishes. My biggest motivating factor was Sunday, I'm not cooking. We eat leftovers in the daytime. In the evening, we go to the temple because we're going to get lovely prasad. And but that was purification, because you couldn't get prasad till the time you went through, they had kirtan, they had class, and then they had prasad. Now, we were, of course, not that shameless that we reached only at the time of prasad. We had a little bit of conscience that we said, no, if we are going to take prasad, we should attend the kirtan and the lecture. And because we knew it was for our benefit, thankfully, that was some intelligence that Krishna had given us. And over time, it was not, after 1 year, it was not for the prasad that we went. After 1 year, it was for the class. It was for the kirtan that we were going. The action was the same, but the motivation changed. And this change of heart is a gradual process that only Krishna can give to us. However, Krishna can only give us if we are inclined in that direction. Okay. One can execute devotional service in the most poverty-stricken condition. The Lord says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. Again, in this 9th chapter, there's this verse. He's ready to accept from the devotee any kind of offering, never mind what, even a leaf, flower, bit of fruit, or little water, whichever is available in any part of the world, it can be offered to Krishna. So it is easy to perform devotional service, and it gives us immense pleasure because it hits the soul. The soul is spirit. And when the soul gets fed in a spiritual manner, the body needs food, right? So when you eat a full stomach, you feel, I feel good. The tongue needs taste. When you satisfy the tongue with taste, the tongue feels good. That way, the spirit, the soul feels good when you feed it, when you nourish it spiritually. And that is real happiness. Okay. And of course, at the end of this chapter, Krishna says, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi yuktvaivam atmanam matparayana. Engage your mind in always thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me. Worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, you will surely come to me. I mean, some days I think, what more assurance can Krishna give any of us? And how much easier can Krishna make this on us? That he's, it's almost like a teacher telling the student, hey, I'll give you an A+ if you just complete the assignment properly. It doesn't matter if it was correct or wrong. If I just see that you put in an effort to complete the assignment, I'll give you an A+. That's what Krishna is telling us essentially. I mean, we are such horrible students. I mean, that's also telling us we're such horrible students that Krishna has actually come down in this age of Kali Yuga and told us, I'll make it so easy on you. Just do this basic thing. I'll make it so easy on you. This is the biggest investment of our lives. And Krishna says this twice in chapter 9 and in chapter 18. No matter which chapter of Bhagavad Gita you read, you will come back to this one message, that engage in devotional service. Okay. Whatever you do, you offer to Krishna. Okay. Always think of Krishna, propagate the name of Krishna. And that is what you need to do. It can't be so hard. It is not hard. And we are so blessed that all of us who are in this group of devotees, plus other devotees that we interact with, they've made our lives so much easier. We have no excuse. When I had gone to Guru Maharaj many years ago, it was in 2000, I would say. So I've been associated with Guru Maharaj since 2004. Okay. And it was not until 2017 that I took my initiation. That's a very long time. And you know what was the struggle? Chanting. One day when I went to meet Guru Maharaj, he told me, at that time he used to call me Supriya. So he said, you can't give yourself so many options. Prabhupada said, no, you have to do it. And there was something about the way he said it that day that changed my heart. I went to meet him in the evening, and traffic in LA is horrible. I didn't have any beads or any counter with me in the car. I got home, it was 7:38 p.m. at night. I went for a walk and I chanted my 16 rounds. That was the day things turned around, and I said, I cannot give myself this excuse. It was 2016. So, 12 years, I went like a pendulum back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And even then, Krishna was so kind. Even then, Krishna is so merciful that he kept working on me. And he's working on all of us. Krishna is working on all of us. We just need to recognize that. And we need to surrender. We need to say, yes, this is going to be the most important thing of my day, of my life. everything else automatically falls into place. I will tell you one thing. My life has become so much easier since the day I started chanting. And I can only imagine how hard it could have been otherwise. So even like that verse said, that all your sinful reactions, whether fructified, whether in stalk or whether in the form of seed, they gradually start to vanish. I have personal experience, and I'm sure many of you have personal experience, that it does start to vanish. Okay. So what is our learning from 927 and in general from chapter 9? Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, and the message is for us also, do that as an offering to me. Krishna explains the technique of bringing worship into daily life. He's made it very easy. In this day and age, it is the easiest to build, to worship in your daily life. The simplest and the most common action we perform is that of eating. Sri Krishna says that even the act of eating should be considered as worship. All these activities, your work, your charity, your eating, your penance, your rituals, everything should be done for me. That's all. That is Krishna consciousness. Everything should be done for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. That is Krishna consciousness. And that will get us to the stage of Manmana Bhava Madbhakto. So we have to get to that stage, that engage your mind in always thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances, be completely absorbed in me. So this is the process of getting to Manmana Bhava Madbhakto. And that verse is so important that it was recited twice in when Krishna, and Arjuna had this Gita conversation. So let's just do one thing. I know everybody makes New Year's resolutions. Just do one thing. Whatever stage you are at, just pick the next stage of what you want to be, because it's not going from first gear to the fourth gear. It is a gradual process. Whatever stage you are at, just commit to taking it a notch higher. And you will see, you'll get to that stage with Dhrida Vrata, which is determination. You'll get to that stage, and then you can set the next goal. So don't set goals for being in Golok Vrindavan when we've not even started chanting. Set small goals, set achievable goals, because then you have fulfillment, and then set the next goal. So set those mini goals. We do this even in our work lives, where if the project is very big, you have to break it down into smaller milestones. So please, I urge all of you, doesn't matter what stage of life you are in, the fact that you have come in contact with devotees and Krishna's teachings, it's a huge blessing. You are, that itself puts you in that 0.1% of fortunate people. So take this fortune forward. Okay, make this life, as they say, Durlabha Manava Janama Satsange Tarahoe Bhavasindhure. We have to cross this ocean, make this life valuable, not with the goal of I need to get out of this, but with the goal of building that love for Krishna. Once you get that love for Krishna, everything else will automatically happen. So thank you very much. I'm going to conclude here, and I can try and take any questions. I don't promise, I'm not that learned. I don't promise that I can answer every question, but I will definitely make an attempt.
Thank you, Mataji. That's a wonderful class, and the tips and tricks you have shared, and the importance of the practice of devotional service. Devotees, please ask any questions or any comments you want to share, or the reflections.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for the amazing class. The first picture you showed, it was so yummy. Prasadam. with whatever you offer. That itself caught my attention there. So, so what I was wondering was like, so how do we know that we are offering everything to Krishna? Is there something, we are not doing, whatever we are doing? So we are trying to practice that, the statement, whatever we do, we offer to Krishna. And is there a easy way to know that we are not offering something to Krishna, or are we missing something?
So in my experience, and I can just speak from my experience, I welcome Satyasar Prabhu to also join in. But in my experience, if we just keep remembering Krishna all the time, that when I start work, I have a picture. I have this picture of Radha Krishna from Mayapur. I don't know if you can see this.
Yes,
When I
we can.
start work, I have this. I keep. I'll show you this. There's this most important verses of Bhagavad Gita that I had received from Guru Maharaj. I know you can't see it because of thing. I keep these verses, and then, because it is impossible for us to absorb, memorize all 700 verses. So I had asked Guru Maharaj, and I'm happy to share this list with in the WhatsApp group. I had asked Guru Maharaj, what are the key verses? And actually, in chapter 9, you have the most number of key verses. So that's why I'm spending so much time on chapter 9. So read in the morning, remember Krishna during your work, in between your meetings, sometimes in between my meetings, if I have a break, I'll chant around. I think just that practice of remembering Krishna will make us remember that we have to offer everything to Krishna. So if it all, to me, for my life experience, it all starts with how much am I thinking of Krishna in a day? And really and particularly before going to bed, I think this has been my practice for many years. Before going to bed, I ask myself the question, what have I done for Krishna today? And that will make me recall the things in the day. And there are days when I feel that, wow, today was one day I was in back-to-back meetings from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. I didn't even think of Krishna all day. What have I done? So just make one practice before you go to bed each night. This has worked very well for me. It's more like a discipline. Some people write a diary or things like that, but I sit down and for 5 minutes and I say, what have I done for Krishna today? And just that reminder to yourself, like calendar reminders tell you all the things you need to do. This is your own reminder to ask yourself. And it will remind you if you've not thought of Krishna, because listen, this is between you and Krishna. It has to be honest, right? If you've not thought of Krishna, which has happened with me, which continues to happen with me some days, because I'm going from one meeting to the other and just handling crisis all day and didn't even think of Krishna. And then I say, wow, how did the day go by? I didn't even think of Krishna. And that's when I tell myself, I need to be more conscious I need to be more deliberate. I need to practice more and think of Krishna, even if it is for that 2 minutes between one Zoom call and another. That is the only way I think we can get to the stage of offering everything to Krishna. But Satyasar Prabhu, I would love to hear from you.
No, that's a beautiful answer, Mataji. So Prabhu, Mataji summed it up very well. So let me ask you one question. So your question is like, how do we know we are offering? Also, that's one component of your question, right?
Right.
So I think Krishna has everything, so he doesn't need anything from anyone. Okay, but instead is other way, opposite. So he is called Varadarshaba. That means he gives boon to others. So when we offer something to the Lord, it is for our benefit. It's not for his benefit. So that's one point comes to my mind. And also, as Mataji quoted that verse beautifully, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, Yome Bhaktya Prayaschati. So he gives it back to us as prasadam, as mercy. So prasadam is nothing but mercy, right? So there are many examples. Bali Maharaj offered 3 pieces of land. In return, Vamanadev gave the entire Sutara Loka to Bali. So Dhruva Maharaj he performed austerities for the Lord and he got Dhruva Loka. So it's not Krishna getting benefited by giving, but he gives more back to us. So how to understand this? It is basically our desire to serve him increases. at the subtle level, it influences our mental functions. Where you see, the more you give it to Krishna, the more he gives back the mercy. Maybe sometimes it is like the materially also it gives back. It used to happen to me. And so when I was a beginner, when I got a first salary, first check, so I gave $500 to temple. My temple president told me, don't worry, Krishna will give you $1,000 back. He just wanted to motivate me. So you cannot believe it. Next year, I got $5,000 bonus. It's like, 25 years ago, whatever. So that gave me, it's not that the material thing which, what Krishna gives, but he also gives that because he knows people what is good for them, what will benefit them. So that was the motivation for me. Okay, now I have to give more. So next I give 5,000 and see how much I get. Believe it or not, he gave me $10,000 bonus. So this is how I got to, serve him more. But in that process, he purifies our heart as well. So the purification is what the real mercy that we get from him. So whatever we offer, the heart gets purified, the heart gets softened, all the good qualities manifest. That culminates in more service to the Lord.
And I think, thank you, Prabhu. And I think there's also a concept of bitter mercy and sweet mercy.
Yes.
So sometimes Krishna, depending upon, he knows us, right? He knows us inside out. Sometimes to bring us closer to him, he may also give us the experience of bitter mercy. And a pure devotee, many years ago when my parents had a court case, which ran for 11 years, it was a civil court case. And my mother would say, it's okay, at least I'm giving to the person wearing the black coat and I don't have to go to the person wearing the white coat, which what she meant was, at least this is going to the lawyer and not to the doctor. And I'm still able to remember Krishna and chant Krishna. So sometimes bitter mercy is actually to bring us closer to Krishna. And there are times people experience real hardships. Even as devotees, I've seen so many devotees experience so much hardship. But the test of our bhakti is, and everything when there's a test in spiritual material life, why wouldn't there be, and that test is really our purification. It's really not Krishna saying, I'm going to trick you. No, it's for a purification. And we realize that it's okay. Sometimes difficult things happen, but it could have been, the wise will think that, I've been so blessed that it was only so much and it was not so much more. It could have been a lot worse. And I think I've heard this even from non-devotees where they say, hey, I'm very thankful. It could have been a lot worse. And I think that's where our faith keeps getting strengthened. Faith is like a seed that we are nurturing to grow. And then when it gives us that fruit, that's when we really know how our faith has culminated with love for God.
That's beautiful, Mataji. Thank you. One more thought. Can I share, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu.
So so I always explain it like this to people who are so attached to humanitarian activities, which is very good, which is also a devotional service. It is the principles of bhakti. By helping. So that is like, I would say, energy. Energy means you give something to somebody in the mood of helping them, you get punya. So 1 + 1 = 2, that is energy. But if you do for Krishna, then it becomes synergy, meaning 1 + 1 = 3. It's not just a material punya we get, but we get the special mercy of the Lord. So energy means we obey the Lord, not wholeheartedly, but for some mundane reasons and so on. But the synergy means like, so we just to do it just to glorify the Lord. We cooperate with the Lord wholeheartedly, then we'll be more and more effective in our life. And we will see an exponential effect in our life. Makes sense? So even the humanitarian of whatever activities we do, our activities, it can be spiritualized. And if it is, if Krishna is in the center, then it becomes a synergy, exponential effect, not just a material punya. So that is another way to look at it.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice.
No problem, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu and Mataji. Hare Krishna.
So if there are no more questions, Prabhu, I'll pass it back to you.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. It's a wonderful class again. And I understood the point like Aina Tena Prakarena, Krishna, Mana Krishna Nivase. So whether a hard way or a soft way, we need to follow the Krishna consciousness. That's a wonderful lecture. Thank you once again. And next part of our program is Narsimharati. And after that, Satyasara Prabhu will do announcements before we conclude today's program. Dhriti is going to do Narsimharati. Hare Krishna, Dhriti.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Namaste Narasimhaya Praladadadahine Hiranyakashipu Rakshaha Shilasankanakalaye Ito Nashimho Parato Nashimho Yato Yato Yamitato Nashimho Bahe Nashimho Ridaye Nashimho Narasimha Madhim Sharanam Prapade Tava Karakamala Varenaka Aputa Shingam Talita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Pringam Keshavadvaita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Tava Aputa Shingam Tanu Jaya Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Nitya Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitya Gaura Hari Bol Jai Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki. Thank you.
Thank you, Dhriti. That's a wonderful devotional Natsimharti. Thank you. The next part of our